Wake up! AI is here and is changing business landscape rapidly. And the thing is, AI is not going anywhere. AI will only continue to change how we do business every single day. Meaning that if you aren't paying attention to this, you are going to be left behind in the next couple of years. There's a massive opportunity right now for any business owner to get ahead of their competition and dominate just by implementing AI inside of their business. And look, this opportunity window is closing fast and many business owners already started taking action on it. I've helped enough businesses to adopt AI inside out to know the exact 5 phases that every business is going through and pushing through before they see any results. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through all of them, plus the one thing that kills most AI implementations than any other. By the end, you'll know exactly where most businesses stall, why it happens, and how to actually implement AI inside your business. Let's get started. Now look, before we get into the phases, this is exactly what most of the businesses think is a successful AI implementation. An AI agent or something like that delivers ROI, that saves money and increases productivity. But the thing is, a lot of people don't see this part of the iceberg, which is the 5 phases that every business pushes through to have this successful AI implementation. What people don't see is the 10 plus opportunities that were identified, then all the messy data sitting across business in multiple sources, the 4 data pipelines that were built to cleanse this messy data and give it some structure, hundreds of prompts evaluated and tested based on user feedback, and a lot of iteration. And finally, the team adoption, where multiple teams need to be involved and actually trained to use the new solution. This is the iceberg, and every business that actually winning right now with AI has pushed through every single layer of it. Let's break down each layer step by step, starting with the layer 1 strategy. The thing is, most businesses skip this layer entirely. They just see a demo that looks impressive and then just start building right away before they answered a single strategic question. They didn't do any audit of what's actually happening inside business. They didn't map out any opportunities for automation or AI implementation. They also didn't model any ROI, so they aren't sure if their solution will give them actual results or if it will actually just waste their time and resources. And finally, they don't have any plan for what workflows need to change before AI actually touches them. And that's why before building anything, you need a strategy. And this strategy consists of 4 things: AI audit, opportunity identification, ROI modeling, and finally, the actual workflow fixing. The first thing is AI audit, and what happens here is you run an actual audit on your business and you map out your current workflows and you put them in a table like this. Then you just score each workflow for AI readiness, list how many hours each workflow takes, how repeatable are these, and how structured is every single one of them. And what this allows you to do is find high leverage gaps that exist in your business for automation and AI implementation. And you do all of this based on the real situation inside your business. Once you have this table mapped out, you move to the opportunity identification. You prioritize each thing by impact it has, and you focus on the main bottlenecks inside of your business. You look for compounding gains that will compound over time and give you better results. And finally, you make sure that the things you automate and implement AI for align with your long-term business goals, because if they don't, you are just automating some things that shouldn't be automated at the first place. Once you have this ready, you move to the ROI modeling. You estimate how much time can be saved by just implementing the AI process and automating this thing. You also weigh your option whether to build the custom solution or just buy ready solution off the shelf. You map out the complexity for something that needs to be automated, because if it brings little value, it's not an ideal candidate for automation. And finally, you try to focus on the positive ROI that you actually can deliver. Once all of these things are done, you finally fix your workflows. You remove all the friction from your workflows, you simplify the handoffs, and you automate only the right stuff. You try to design your solutions for scale so they can help you during the future phases of your business growth. And that's the exact model: audit, identification, ROI modeling, and then finally redesigning your workflows. This is the correct order that you should follow for the strategy layer. Moving on to the second layer of the iceberg, which is the data layer, so-called data pipeline. Look, every company thinks their data is pretty clean, but the truth is it never is. And this matters more than anything else you'll hear in this video. Because here's what most people fundamentally misunderstand about AI. It doesn't think, it doesn't reason the way you do. It works entirely from context, and the context is the data you provide to it. When you ask an AI agent to do something, every single thing it knows about your business, your customer, and the task it has at hand comes from the data that you feed it. If the data is inconsistent, incomplete, or scattered across systems that don't really talk to each other, the AI doesn't fill the gaps. It will just hallucinate and lie to you and work with what it has on its hands. And it will get it wrong. This is why most implementations fail, because they feed messy data inside, so-called garbage data, and then get garbage out. The actual work, and this is what this layer is about, is the pipeline underneath. Capturing the data cleanly, pulling it from every source it lives in, transforming it in something consistent and useful. Then and only then an AI agent can be bolted on top of it to do something useful with it. That's called an ETL pipeline, extract, transform, load. And the AI part at the end is actually the easiest part of the whole build. Getting right context and right data inside the AI agent is what matters and is what's the most time-consuming task at this point. So here's how you can build a data pipeline. First, you need to audit your current data sources before building anything. Where does your customer data live? Where does it overlap? And what's missing, mislabeled, or inconsistent? For example, you can have a messy CRM that nobody really updates, or any other of the data sources that you have. Then once you have it, you build the extraction layer. Which basically allows you to connect each source to a central destination, database, data warehouse, or even Airtables for smaller operations. You can use tools like Zapier, Make, or custom APIs depending on the complexity. Once you have it done, you transform the data. You clean the messy data, make it standardized and structured. Finally, once you have this clean, structured data, you load it somewhere, and this somewhere is a database that will be acting as a single source of truth for your AI agent to pull data from. If you get it wrong and it's messy here, everything downstream will be also wrong, so really make sure that you didn't skip the extraction and transformation layer. Now, the thing is, going through all of this alone is where most of the people get stuck, because you might know what needs to happen, but knowing the steps and actually building the production-ready system are two completely different things. Me and my team at Systems Department already have helped dozens of businesses implement AI inside of their operations. So if you want us to audit your business, map out exactly where to start your transformation, and actually help you implement AI solutions inside of your business, check out the link in the description. We'll figure out what actually makes sense for your specific business, create a detailed transformation roadmap, and execute on it. Alright, back to video. Phase 3. Infrastructure. The thing is, you can't bolt AI onto the broken systems. Think about all the things that AI agent actually needs to do its job. It needs to read data from somewhere, write output somewhere, know when to trigger itself and what to do when it fails, and whether what it's produced even was correct. None of that happens without any connections underneath. Pipelines to move data, API layers connecting your agent to real tools, integration so AI can read and write the tools your team already uses, logging so you catch what's breaking before your customers do. And most AI implementations skip all of this. So here's how to set up your infrastructure. Every tool your AI agent needs to read or write needs to have an API layer that an AI agent can connect to. You should prioritize things like CRM, email, threads, Google Sheets or your calendar, and any other tools that you use inside your business. And the good thing is, most of the tools already have a great API layer that you can just plug your AI agent into. Once that's done, you build your context database. You load all this data into a single database which will act as a single source of truth. Depending on the solution, it can be a vector database or just plain relational database that just stores records from your systems. And this is optional, by the way, and really depending on your solution, because sometimes you can skip this layer entirely and just have it pulled directly from your tools via the API layer. Once that's done, you need to set up logging and monitoring so you actually can know when your AI agent is performing and when it fails to do its task. A good thing to consider also here is cost routing. You should absolutely do some cost optimization early because it prevents expensive mistakes down the line. For example, you should route simpler tasks to cheaper models, for example GPT-5 Mini or Cloud Haiku. And you should absolutely save expensive models like Opus 4.7 for more complex tasks that need more intelligence. Alright, the next phase is the AI work phase. And this is the phase everyone thinks is the whole job. And it's not, it's the phase 4 of the 5 phases that we are covering in this video. By the time you're here, your strategy is set, your data should be clean, and your infrastructure should be in place and ready to go. Now you are actually building something, and once the first 3 phases are done right, this is genuinely the most straightforward part of the whole project. But it's still not as simple as writing one prompt and shipping it. The reason is the same reason you don't just hire someone and put them in front of your customers on day one. They need some context, they need constraints, they need to know what good looks like before they are trusted to produce it unsupervised. AI is super identical to this. You define the role, you give it some context, you set the constraints and show it what a good output looks like, and then test it against real inputs until it's reliable. You need to test a lot of prompts and do a lot of iterations before anything goes into the production. Look, the prompt engineering work is an iterative process where you write a prompt, you test it, you write evaluations, which can be manual or also automated, and then you refine based on these results that you get on the evaluation phase. And this is a cycle which you repeat a couple times, and usually to get a really good prompt, it takes 20 plus iterations. You also build RAG pipelines for anything knowledge base, and for those who don't know, RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, which means that the model is able to retrieve the similar chunks from its database based on the user's input. And this is how you give AI accurate, specific knowledge and context about your business and for the task it tries to accomplish. You also should absolutely give your AI agent some guardrails. For example, never say certain X thing. Always output something in this format, and you test a lot of edge cases based on these guardrails that you define and try to put as much guardrails as possible. Once that's done, you run a model evaluation. You create a test of 50 to 100 real inputs with expected outputs, and you run all of them through your AI agent. You score every new prompt version against it, and if the score drops, you don't ship it to production. Finally, the business friction stage, which is the final stage that nobody almost is talking about. The thing is, you can have a working system inside your business and still fail because your team won't use it. Internal resistance from people who feel like AI is replacing them, process changes that nobody is agreeing to, staff who haven't been trained on how to work with these new systems, edge cases that keep breaking and eroding trust. Brian Halligan, the HubSpot co-founder and Sequoia partner, has this 3-question test that determines whether you are really pushing AI transformation inside your organization. And these 3 questions sound like this. Has your CFO lost its mind over the token costs? Second one being, has your HR pushed back because you are messing up their compensation structure? And finally, has your IT team complained because you are opening a lot of your internal systems? If none of these are happening, this means that you are not really pushing the boundaries of AI implementation inside your own business. You're just using AI to make your people a little bit faster and efficient. That's the phase 1, but the phase 2 is actually restructuring your whole organization. What we are seeing right now is companies moving AI to the core of their operations, and we already seen companies like Block and Coinbase restructure them based on this principle, where they have AI at their core and then people around it, making decisions that all flow through the AI. Now, the key adoption killers for any AI inside business are, first of all, no buy-in from team members, which then leads to resistance, making AI an extra step and assuming that people will just automatically add it to their workflows, and slow iteration loops because this kills trust at scale and makes people feel like that their input and the whole system as a whole isn't really working. Finally, you should be asking the uncomfortable questions that arise, because if AI is doing this workflow, what will team be doing instead? If you answer this first, the rest will become clear for you and for your team also, and will prevent a lot of adoption friction from your team members because they won't feel like AI is replacing them, but instead they will feel like it's a tool that empowers them, makes them more efficient, and allows them to produce 10 times more output with 10 less effort. That's all 5 phases: strategy first, data second, infrastructure third, the actual AI work, and then the friction. And the thing is, most businesses fail at AI implementation because they think it's a tool problem. It's not. It's a 5-phase transformation with a lot of work to do at each layer. And the businesses that push through all of the 5, they come out on the other side with the AI at their core, allowing them to run leaner, move faster, and outwork their competition and dominate their market. The iceberg I showed you at the start of the video is real, and now you know what sits underneath it. I hope this was super useful, and if you want to learn more about actual AI use cases inside real businesses with real examples, check out this video next. See you in the next one.